Understanding the Self and the Unconscious Mind, Carl Jung, a pioneering Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, is widely known for founding the field of analytical psychology. His work revolutionized the way we understand the human mind and its complex inner workings. Central to his philosophy is the concept of the ego. Beneath this conscious layer lies a deeper and more complex dimension, what Jung referred to as the unconscious mind. The unconscious is not simply a passive, hidden aspect of the mind. It actively influences and shapes our lives, often without our conscious awareness. These aspects of the psyche are not immediately available to conscious awareness and are often repressed or forgotten. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves that we consciously reject or desires and impulses that we deem socially unacceptable or incompatible with ourselves. These shadow aspects can include negative emotions such as anger, jealousy, shame, or fear, as well as desires that do not align with our values. Rather than viewing the shadow as something inherently negative, Jung argued that it is an essential part of the self. The shadow contains the repressed or hidden parts of the psyche that we must confront in order to achieve self-knowledge and growth. This layer includes everything from childhood experiences, unprocessed emotions, to forgotten memories that shape our worldview, but remain buried in the unconscious. They influence our thoughts, behaviors, and perceptions, guiding our actions in ways we may not consciously understand. By understanding these archetypes, we can gain a deeper understanding of our own psychological makeup and begin the process of integrating unconscious material into our conscious awareness. This integration is essential for personal growth and self-actualization, as it allows us to tap into the full potential of our unconscious mind. For example, the hero archetype embodies qualities such as courage, strength, and perseverance, and it can manifest in individuals who take on leadership roles or strive to overcome challenges. Mandalas are circular patterns that represent wholeness, unity, and balance. He found that the mandalas he created often reflected his emotional and mental state at the time, providing valuable insights into his unconscious processes. Jung hypothesized that when individuals are in phases of personal growth, they have an increased urge to create, especially when they are experiencing life changes that leave them feeling less in control. Drawing mandalas or engaging in other forms of creative expression can serve as a means of regaining that sense of control and understanding oneself more deeply. In many ancient cultures, mandalas were used as symbols of the universe and as tools for meditation and the shapes, colors, and patterns we choose can offer us clues about our inner states and emotional landscapes. For example, are we drawn to sharp, angular lines, or do we prefer soft, rounded forms? Do we use bright, warm colors, or do we opt for cooler, darker tones? These choices are not random. They reflect aspects of our personality, our current emotional state, and our unconscious desires. By regularly creating and reflecting on our work, we can gain valuable insights into our subconscious mind and track our growth over time. Jung believed that the mandala could serve as a representation of the self, as it encapsulated both the conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche. The caregiver archetype is characterized by empathy, compassion, and selflessness, and it often appears in individuals who prioritize the needs of others above their own. He argued that creative expression, whether through art, music, writing, or other forms, serves as a powerful tool for accessing the unconscious mind. When we create, we are often tapping into unconscious material that is not readily available to our conscious awareness. Jung believed that the creative process allows us to express and process the hidden aspects of the psyche, giving them form and meaning. The traits and impulses we suppress do not simply vanish. They become more insidious, manifesting in unconscious ways that can harm our mental and emotional well-being. For example, someone who denies their anger might have sudden outbursts or become passive. The collective unconscious holds the inherited memories, experiences, and archetypes that are common to the entire human race. Archetypes, according to Jung, are universal, primordial images or patterns of behavior that appear across cultures and time periods. They are the building blocks of our unconscious mind and shape how we relate to ourselves, others, and the world around us. These archetypes are found in myths, fairy tales, religious stories, and ancient traditions. Some of the most common archetypes include the hero, the caregiver, the trickster, and the wise old man, among many others. These are the shared psychological patterns symbols, and themes that have emerged throughout human history, transcending individual experiences and cultural differences. Jung believed that by acknowledging and integrating the shadow into our conscious self, we can begin the process of healing, and so these forgotten or repressed experiences may surface in dreams, fantasies, or sudden emotional reactions, revealing the complex and often hidden dimensions of our inner lives. According to Jung, this unconscious mind is composed of two primary layers: the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. The ego, according to Jung, is the center of our conscious awareness. It is the part of the psyche that is responsible for organizing our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, and it dictates our conscious behavior in the world. The ego regulates everything we are aware of. It's the lens through which we experience reality. It plays a crucial role in helping us navigate daily life by guiding decisions, shaping desires, and giving us a sense of continuity and identity. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Jung was deeply interested in the unconscious mind, a vast and largely unexplored realm that governs much of our thoughts, actions, and behaviors. He proposed that the mind is not only shaped by the conscious awareness we experience, but also by unconscious forces that play a crucial role in shaping our lives. Jung's exploration of the human psyche was groundbreaking, and he introduced several concepts that have had a lasting impact on psychology and personal development. However, Jung believed that the ego is only a small part of the overall human psyche. The personal unconscious, the hidden depths of the self, the personal unconscious, as Jung described it, consists of all the experiences, memories, and emotions that are unique to the individual. The personal unconscious holds what Jung called the shadow. Rejecting or ignoring the shadow leads to an unhealthy psychological state. The collective unconscious, a shared human experience, while the personal unconscious is unique to each individual. Jung also proposed the idea of the collective unconscious, a universal dimension of the unconscious mind shared by all human beings. The collective unconscious is a vast and deep reservoir of archetypal images and symbols that shape our understanding of the world. Each of us carries these archetypes within us, though we may not always be aware of them. Jung believed that the study of archetypes offers valuable insights into the unconscious forces that shape our behavior. The role of creativity in self-discovery. Jung placed a strong emphasis on the role of creativity in the process of self-discovery and personal growth. One of the key tools Jung used in his own practice was the drawing of mandalas. For much of his life, Jung drew mandalas each morning as a way of exploring his inner state and tracking his psychological progress. As we create, we engage in a process of persona, shadow integration, and becoming a superior person. The persona, the mask we wear. One of Carl Jung's most influential contributions to the understanding of human psychology is the concept of the persona. Jung described the persona as a mask, or social facade that we wear in public. This mask is designed to help us fit in with societal expectations and to make a specific impression on others. The persona is not inherently bad. It serves a necessary function in helping individuals navigate the complexities of social life. We may act differently around family members, friends, or authority figures. These different personas are not inherently bad, but they can become problematic if we forget they are just masks. The shadow represents the repressed, hidden aspects of ourselves, the parts of our personality that we reject, deny, or suppress because they are deemed undesirable or unacceptable by society. The shadow includes negative traits like anger, jealousy, greed, or shame, but it can also encompass positive qualities that we are too afraid to acknowledge, such as ambition, assertiveness, or desire for power. This repressed anger manifests in unhealthy ways because the person has not faced or dealt with their emotional needs. By confronting this shadow aspect, the person can learn to express their anger in healthy ways, without harming themselves or others. Jung believed that the act of integrating the shadow is one of the most powerful paths to self-improvement. Jung believed that every individual has both masculine and feminine qualities, regardless of their biological sex. These aspects of the unconscious are often repressed or ignored, due to societal norms and gender roles. For instance, men are often encouraged to suppress their emotional sensitivity and to embrace traits like strength, independence, and rationality. Women, on the other hand, are often conditioned to repress their assertiveness and competitive nature. Encouraged to embrace nurturing and passive traits, these qualities are not inherently tied to gender, but rather represent different aspects of the psyche that influence our thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. The self is not a static, fixed identity, but a dynamic process of becoming. Jung believed that throughout our lives, we are constantly evolving, integrating new experiences, and expanding our consciousness. Achieving wholeness involves integrating all parts of ourselves, our ego, persona, shadow, anima, animus, and archetypes into a cohesive whole. It leads to greater emotional balance, self-acceptance, and personal growth. By acknowledging and embracing all aspects of our personality, we can achieve greater emotional balance, mental clarity, and personal fulfillment. The path to becoming a superior person, according to Jung, is not about perfection or the elimination of negative traits. It is about becoming whole by integrating all aspects of our being. The key is to remain aware of the personas we adopt and to ensure that they do not dominate our lives. This quote encapsulates the essence of his philosophy. The journey to self-actualization is a lifelong process of exploration, acceptance, and integration. By embracing the full complexity of our psyche, we can achieve a deeper sense of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment in our lives. If a man suppresses his anima, he might become overly rigid, emotionally distant, or disconnected from his creative potential. We can tap into our creativity, intuition, and emotional intelligence through the anima, and access rationality, strength, and confidence through the animus. Rather than being limited by rigid gender expectations, we are free to express the full spectrum of our personality, which leads to a deeper understanding of who we are and what we need. If a woman represses her animus, she might struggle with a lack of agency or difficulty asserting herself in the world. The key to achieving psychological balance and personal growth, to embrace both the anima and animus and integrate these contradictory traits into our lives. It contains the traits and behaviors that we would prefer to ignore, but it also holds valuable insights into our true nature. By confronting our shadow, we not only integrate the parts of ourselves that we have repressed, but also tap into a deeper, more authentic understanding of who we are. Shadow work, as Jung called it, involves acknowledging these darker aspects of ourselves and accepting them as part of our full human experience. Jung believed that we should strive to develop a flexible persona, one that can adapt to various situations while still remaining connected to our authentic self. In social situations, we all adjust our behavior to align with the roles society expects us to play. Jung believed that we must learn to accept all aspects of ourselves, even those we may find uncomfortable or difficult to face. Only then can we achieve true wholeness and become a more complete, authentic version of ourselves. Whether it's being a friendly colleague, a caring family member, or a professional leader, our persona is how we present ourselves to the world. However, the problem arises when we become overly identified with this persona. Jung warned that the more we identify with the personae, the less we remain true to our authentic selves. The persona is not the full reflection of who we are. It's a role we play to meet external expectations. When we invest too much energy into maintaining our persona, we risk losing touch with our true selves and, in turn, our inner peace. This is especially true in cases where we try to maintain a mask that is harmful or untrue to who we are. For example, someone who hides their vulnerability behind a mask of strength might suppress their emotional needs, leading to feelings of isolation and frustration. This false identity can cause internal conflict, as the individual struggles to reconcile their persona with their true self. Jung argued that an over-identification with the persona could lead to psychological burnout, emotional repression, and a lack of fulfillment. It is important to remember that we all wear multiple personas depending on the context. Integrating the shadow, facing the unconscious. One of the central tenets of Jungian psychology is the integration of the shadow. Jung emphasized that the shadow is a necessary part of the human psyche. For example, someone who has repressed their anger might feel a strong urge to act passive-aggressively in certain situations. Through this process of shadow integration, we are not merely suppressing or eliminating our darker qualities. Rather, we are learning to understand and control them. The anima and animus. Embracing our contradictory nature. In addition to the shadow, Jung introduced the concept of the anima and animus, the feminine and masculine aspects that exist within each person. The anima represents the feminine side of a man's psyche, while the animus represents the masculine side of a woman's psyche. Jung argued that this repression of the anima and animus can lead to inner conflict and imbalance. By exploring and accepting the anima and animus, we can begin to live more holistically, drawing on the full range of our emotional and intellectual capacities, embracing the self, achieving personal wholeness, The ultimate goal of Jungian psychology is the realization of the self-third total, integrated person who has reconciled the conscious and unconscious aspects of their being. The self is a concept that encompasses all of who we are, including the parts that we may have rejected or suppressed. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Archetypes, and finding meaning in life, exploring your archetypes, understanding your inner patterns. As we continue our journey toward becoming a superior person according to Carl Jung's philosophy, we must explore another important aspect of the unconscious mind: archetypes. These are universal, inherited patterns of thought and behavior that are shared across all human beings, regardless of culture, time period, or geography. They are present in mythology, fairy tales, religion, and folklore, and they can be identified in the way we live our lives, the roles we adopt, and the challenges we face. Archetypes are powerful because they transcend individual experience. They connect us to the shared history and emotions of all humans. Archetypes are fundamental aspects of the collective unconscious, and they shape how we perceive the world and navigate our lives. Jung believed that archetypes are symbolic representations of the human experience, and they are embedded deeply within our psyche. Some of the most common archetypes identified by Jung include: the sage seeks truth and understanding, often looking beyond surface appearances to see the deeper meaning in life. This archetype is associated with qualities like intellectual curiosity, discernment, and a lifelong commitment to learning. The hero archetype represents the part of us that desires adventure, change, and transformation. For example, if you identify with the hero archetype, you might feel a strong desire to take risks and overcome challenges. This process is known as individuation, and it is the key to achieving personal wholeness. In order to achieve individuation, we must integrate the unconscious aspects of our psyche, including the shadow, the anima, animus, and the archetypes. Jung emphasized that individuation is not a linear process, but a dynamic journey that unfolds over time. Active imagination allows us to bypass the ego and access deeper layers of the unconscious mind. By engaging in creative activities, we can better understand the symbols and archetypes that arise from the unconscious and begin to integrate them into our waking lives. As we encounter new experiences and face challenges in life, we continue to integrate new aspects of ourselves into our conscious awareness. This personal myth is shaped by our individual experiences, our relationship with the unconscious, and our understanding of the world around us. By constructing our own myth, we can better understand our purpose and navigate the challenges we face. What values guide my actions? By reflecting on these questions, we can begin to understand our own unique path in life and how we can live authentically according to our values and beliefs. The integration of these parts allows us to become more whole, more authentic, and more self. By embracing the full complexity of our psyche and integrating all aspects of ourselves, the ego, shadow, anima, animus, and archetypes, we can achieve personal growth, inner peace, and fulfillment. It is through this process of continuous self-exploration that we can uncover our true potential and become the superior person we are capable of being. The goal of individuation is not to eliminate the shadow or repress the anima and animus, but to accept and embrace all parts of the self, allowing them to coexist in harmony. Individuation is the process of becoming the person we are truly meant to be. Jung believed that the human psyche is inherently driven by a desire for meaning and purpose. Without meaning, we can feel lost, disconnected, or aimless. Instead, it comes from within, from a deep understanding of our true selves and our relationship to the world. He believed that individuals who find meaning in their lives are more resilient, more creative, and more able to cope with adversity. Jung argued that the search for meaning is a fundamental aspect of the human experience, and it is what gives life its depth and significance. And it involves a deep exploration of the unconscious mind to bring hidden aspects of the self into awareness. But you could also struggle with self-doubt or an inability to accept failure. Alternatively, if you connect with the caregiver archetype, you may find fulfillment in nurturing others, but may neglect your own emotional needs in the process. This archetype often challenges conventions, finding humor and wit in the most difficult situations. This self-awareness allows us to better navigate our own personal growth, and it can help us integrate these unconscious patterns into our conscious experience. Tricksters can teach us how to cope with life's challenges through humor, adaptability, and non-conformity. Heroes are brave, determined, and willing to face challenges in pursuit of their goals. The hero archetype embodies qualities like courage, perseverance, and the belief that we can overcome obstacles if we work hard enough. The caregiver. The caregiver archetype is nurturing, selfless, and protective. People who embody the caregiver archetype often put others' needs before their own and derive satisfaction from helping and supporting those around them. While this archetype fosters compassion and empathy, it can also lead to burnout if the caregiver neglects their own well-being. The trickster. The trickster archetype embodies mischief, playfulness, and unpredictability. The sage. The sage archetype represents wisdom, knowledge, and insight. Each of us has elements of these archetypes within us, and understanding which archetypes resonate most with us can provide profound insights into our personality, strengths, and weaknesses. By identifying and reflecting on the archetypes that influence our lives, we gain a deeper understanding of our internal drives. The journey of self-exploration, integrating the unconscious. In Jungian psychology, the journey of self-exploration is a lifelong process of integrating the unconscious into the conscious mind. Jung believed that the ego-conscious aspect of our personality is only a small part of the whole self. The process of individuation requires us to confront difficult emotions, repressed desires, and uncomfortable truths. It is through this confrontation that we achieve self-knowledge, and one of the key practices Jung recommended for self-exploration is active imagination, which involves engaging with the unconscious through creative expression, such as writing, painting, or even daydreaming. Finding meaning. The importance of purpose in life, one of the final and most essential aspects of becoming a superior person, according to Jung, is finding meaning in life. In his later years, Jung explored the idea that meaning could be found through the pursuit of a personal myth-narrative that gives direction and purpose to one's life. Jung emphasized that meaning does not come from external sources, such as societal approval or material success. To find meaning, Jung recommended that we look inward and ask ourselves deep, existential questions. What do I truly believe in? What is my purpose in life? Jung's philosophy encourages us to live a life of self-exploration, self-acceptance, and